This is Shuriful Islam Ratul, and my ID number is 191. The course title is Computing Concepts. The course code is 147, and section is 1. The topic is Flood after the Quota movement. Here, in this slide, I am going to describe this abstract. The 2024 Quota movement in Bangladesh was a major event in Bangladesh history. The movement started as a non-political movement but ultimately turned into a movement for government reformation. New Bangladesh began its journey with a devastated flood situation caused by the opening of the overloaded Yambu Dam. As a consequence, Kumilla and Feni faced a flood flush situation. It happened during the last period of August. Several cities in Bangladesh faced a flash flood situation in the past few decades. Transportation with those cities became nearly impossible. People even faced a tough situation to reach relief goods to the flood affected people. For example, people who went to distribute goods had to take a boat with them. It all happened just after the Quota movement. And the question is now if the Quota movement has any kind of connection with the flood situation. To find out my answers and findings, I analyzed news reports, interviews of political figures, and social media posts, and I ended with the result that both climate change and connection with our neighborhood country caused these challenges to the new government and sufferings to the people of Bangladesh. It is totally a political term. Introduction. My selected topic is flood after the Quota movement. The Quota reform movement in Bangladesh was an important social and political movement that aimed to fix the unfairness in government's quota system. The first challenge that our new government faced in the new Bangladesh is the flash flood situation in Kumilla and Feni. What interests me about this topic is how our new government handled the flood situation and helped the sufferers with relief goods. I want to understand what can a young generation do when they form a government and take steps to move forward along with the people of the country. To reach an end of this, I gathered data from news articles, social media platforms, news of politicians, and any official government statements available. By searching articles from different websites like Google Scholar. In Google Scholar, I compared many articles. Here are the two articles that I have researched mainly on. From these articles, I created some questions that were popping up in my head, and the questions are given below. First question is what was a significant consequence of the Quota movement in Bangladesh on the government's ability to manage the flood crisis? The second question is how did the public perception of the government's effectiveness in disaster management change after the Quota movement and subsequent floods? Which city in Bangladesh recorded an unprecedented 312 millimeters of rain in a single day during the floods? The fourth question as follows. What was a reason for the international community's response to the floods after the Quota movement? The fifth question says that which event considered with the floods, adding to the challenges faced by Bangladesh in August 2024. And lastly, the last question is which group was most likely to be disproportionately affected by the floods after the Quota movement? Uh, these slides describes how I collected my data. It's called methodology. To collect my data from individuals, I created a Google form with the questions I just read out in my previous slide. These questions mentioned before and gathered the thinking of others to make my research. During the survey, I have faced some problems like at the beginning I was not getting that much response of my Google form. To improve my Google form, I showed my Google form to my friends for their feedback. They suggested that I should use basic English words for better understanding and give two options instead of four, so that it would not take too long to answer the multiple choice questions. Their opinions helped me a lot to improve my Google form. As in the spreadsheet, I faced a lot trouble to counting the data and make graphs. That is when I used the formula equation countif, and it became easier for me to count and make the graph informative. From the results of the questions and in the graph, I analyzed the survey data. Here were two questions, for example, with the options I gave. Question number 4. What was the reason for the international community's response to the floods after the Quota movement? And the first option was for this question is increased aid due to heightened global attention on Bangladesh. The option B is reduced aid due to the political instability and uncertainty. As follows, option number C is neutral response with no changes in aid or diplomatic relations. The last option is complete withdrawal of international support. Another question is question number 6. Which group was most likely to be disproportionately affected by the floods following the Quota movement? Option A, urban elites. Option B, rural marginalized communities. Option C, government officials. And option D, foreign investors. This part of the slide, I have showed my graph charts of the two questions I described in the previous slide, and these bar graphs says that most of the participants agreed with that many international communities have reduced aid support due to the instability in the political sector, and the percentage is the same for the option neutral response with no changes in aid or diplomatic relations. Same here is about the question number 6. This graph, from this graph, it is clear that most of the people from rural marginalized communities are affected by the flood situation. Findings from Article 1. The two articles I mentioned before, from the first article, it shows that how flood situation affected the people and their living. Flash flood hampered individuals' houses and their crops, as these cities never faced flood in the last couple of decades. That's why people were not even aware of such flash flood. Climate resulted in untimely rain, and it caused the overloaded of the dam in Dambu, which has resulted after into the flash flood situation in Bangladesh. This situation evolved water-affected diseases in the affected areas and gave a rise to the lack of pure water supply. And from the article 2, it shows us how the new beginning of Bangladesh occurred, which is followed by a devastating flash flood. Our new interim government faced a great challenge to control the country, and Zenze has emerged a formidable force to be reckoned with expressions and resistance. In conclusion, from the response of the Google form, it is clear that most of the individuals of the country is aware of the recent flash flood situation as they answered all the questions I created in the Google form which are related to the flood situations. Most of the respondents agreed with the point that the focus was mostly on the political changes while people were suffering in flood. If the interim government focused on the situation earlier, the damage of the flood situation might be reduced. As a result, many diseases spreaded away in affected areas. Moreover, medical aid support is not enough to serve the affected people due to the unstable situation of the country. The findings from the second article say that it's clear that government was not prepared about the flood situation and medical support took time to reach to the sufferers. So government should be aware of these effects of climate change and be prepared for upcoming disasters so that people get no harm or not any kind of diseases can break away. In this part of slides, I gave references from the articles and the researchers in the APA format. And the last slide, I gave the spreadsheet link and the Google form link to make it easier for my instructor to find my questions and my answers in the spreadsheet. Thank you.